do this. Hang on. This is like this. And that's just my head. And we're going to go a little bit lower. Oh, as I adjust the camera. And I don't know if anybody's watching. Whatever. And you get me in all of my chaos tonight as I was attempting to finish things before you got here, before I got here, and we finish up this duffel bag. And we are tonight going to make continuous bias tape from a fat quarter. This is what we're doing. This is the step that we're doing today. At this point, your bag looks naked like this, and we are attaching the inner bias binding. You can see mine is really messy. I just very, very, very quickly finished this. I hadn't actually finished this up until now. And the thoughts that I have on this are twofold. One is, I think when you are sewing it on, when you roll it into place, the pattern says to trim your seam allowance, and you most definitely want to do that. I think that you probably want to, if you're going to sew by machine, glue baste it in place. It's going to just be neater, and it's going to save you a ton of time. Michelle has been telling me about a product that we have that is like a fine line tip that goes on top of a regular glue bottle, and then it just washes out afterwards. So I would explore that. I also think, and this is coming from me who detests hand sewing, I think that it would be a really nice finish to finish the inside of this with hand sewn bias binding. And I may just do that for my other sample. We shall see. But yes, that is this. So I'm going to use the other side of this as our demo tonight. I'm going to just put it to the side for now. What I'm going to show you first is how messy everything is over here. How to make, I have like piles, just piles of things everywhere. Oh my goodness. And I have to find, there's no space. I have no space. So yes, you should have at this point, I'm going to put my thread in here. That will help, I think. I don't know where my bias binding went. There it is on the floor. You get a lot. You get a really, really lot from one fat quarter. So you should have, this is the mini one. These should be attached. It looks very nice. And I'm going to throw that over there. And oh, look, I have workspace now. And I need this because I need to show you guys the my cutting table. So we're going to start with a fat quarter. The directions tell you to cut a 17-inch square, and you don't really need to do that. You do need to iron your fat quarter. So I'm going to go over to my iron. We're gonna move here, and y'all can watch me iron. I guess no one is actually watching right now. I have nobody with me. And that's okay. But if you're watching this on the rewatch and you're like, I have so many questions, and those questions don't pertain to how messy my space is, feel free to answer them, or how chaotic tonight is. I think it's the ice storm. The ice storm today has really thrown me off a lot. Had kids home all day. It was lovely. All right, so I have ironed my fat quarter. I'm going to do my very best to show you guys what I'm doing here. And we're going to have to bounce back and forth between this space and let's see if that works. There we go. Okay. And I know this is not the most comfortable position. I'm going to start by cutting off my selvage, because I don't want that in my, though it's so cute. It's got little, this one's got little moths on it. And now I have, so yesterday was the first day I've ever actually made bias binding, because I always use, I never make bias binding with my quilts. I always use straight binding. And if I am making binding for my garments, I use rayon or I use pre-made binding, and it's not an issue. So we're going to start by taking our piece. This is the selvage edge, and this is the cut edge, and we're going to take the cut edge and we're going to fold it over so that it makes a triangle like this. We want this 45-degree angle here, and I'm just going to finger press it. You can use the 45-degree line on your that's this guy. Where did my line go? Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. That's what I want to cut off. So you can use the 45-degree line on your cutting mat to line this up and make a cut. That should be like so. That's not going to quite work the way I want it to. That's fine. We're going to do this. I'm going to give this a quick press so I can see the line. And what this, so the instructions tell you to like cut strips and sew them together, and that seems, oh, and I have to apologize. I have a sump pump in this room. And it's going to possibly be noisy. Okay, so you now have two pieces. You've got this piece with the square bit here, and you've got the triangle piece. You are going to take your triangle piece and fold it back over, not like this. I've made this mistake again. Fold it like this. So you've taken it, I guess what you're going to do is rotate it, fold it over, rotate it 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and so that the square piece is covered, and we're going to sew along this line. So I'm going to do that very quickly. I will not show you this part. You will have to be patient while I do this. Because, and it says to use you should use a shortened stitch just so that the bias tape doesn't unravel. It's like quilting. With a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And this is really going to be the moment of truth if I've done this correctly. Like I said, I've only done this once before. Okay, so I have sewn this line. You now open this up and you have this parallelogram shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark out diagonal lines on this at what your pattern calls for. Our pattern calls for 2.5 inches. You do want to iron this open. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back and mark these lines. And so 2.5 inches, and I'm using the cut edge as my guide here. I don't know if you can quite see what I'm doing. There we go. So there's 1, 2.5. Oh my goodness, this is getting caught on stuff. And I lost where my line is. That's okay. It's not really okay. I'm going to switch pens. I hope my blue pen is working better. I was debating with someone the other day about friction pens and friction pens with sewing. And I know that, like, you're really not supposed to use them. I've never had an issue with them not coming out. I'm going to move this around slightly just so I can see what I'm doing better, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing better. Oh, hey, someone's watching. Please let me know who is watching. Say hi. I hope you've had a good day today, that you have not had troubles at all with transportation or power. I know there's a whole bunch of people who've lost power today. And you do need to be able to see these. Obviously, you need to be able to see the lines, but they're going to come into play a little bit later. Anyways, did somebody say hi? Nobody said hi. Hello to whoever is out there. I feel like a Pink Floyd song. And there we go. This fabric is incredibly patterned and is somewhat difficult to see. And that's okay. Where I'm marking my lines. And this last one is 2.5 inches. So it's perfect. Okay, so I've got my lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tube. I'm going to fold one parallelogram edge up to the other edge. And I'm going to match the lines offset by 1. So this line here is going to get matched not with its end over here, but with the next one over. And we're going to do that and pin them all into place. And this is going to end up, it's going to look weird, and it is going to look like it is not going to function, but I promise you it is going to function. Here's my next pair of lines. And I will link a written tutorial on how to do this. Hello, Lori. No problem with friction. Yeah, I've never had a problem with friction prints. I don't know. They've never like reappeared on me. Okay, so this looks like this now, which does not look like it's gonna work. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna sew along this edge. So I'm gonna go do that quickly. Again, at 1/4 inch. So now you've got this like tube. Turn it right side around. And you're going to find that starting line that you marked, and you're going to cut with fabric. We have to use scissors for this. We cannot use a rotary cutter because it's a tube. And I was thinking about this proper scissor technique. You should have your scissors down, like the tip down, and as you're cutting, you're going like this. It gives you more stability with what you're doing. Okay, and I will try to keep my head out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. And obviously you need to be careful that you're not cutting the other side of your tube here. And we just keep going like this. Roll it over. And what this does is this saves you from having to like cut short little strips and piece short little strips. And the reason that you need bias binding and not bias binding is that you need the bias on a fabric has what's considered mechanical stretch. So it stretches along the bias is the diagonal, and it stretches along that diagonal because the way fabric is woven, it's naturally stretchy on the diagonal. So yes, that is that, and you need that stretch to be able to go around the curves of this piece. But you can see I'm getting there with this. This fabric looks like horribly colored in this video, and it is not. It is this beautiful, I guess the metallic too might be throwing it off a bit. Accurate cutting is going to be important here, or else you're going to end up with binding that is too wide or too narrow at various parts. Here we go. The other tool, and we talk about this all the time, I talk about it all the time, that's going to come in really handy for the next part is wonder clips. You are going to need them to keep your binding in place, especially if you're not glue basting it, and maybe even if you are glue basting it. I need to look into that more. And then we're going to, what's it called? We're going to be posting, I'm not cutting properly. I'm not cutting with my scissors down, which is bad of me. We're going to be posting a video on how to use a bias tape maker, because you can then use one to, I guess you wouldn't need it for this because you don't need double fold. So never mind. If you are interested though in how a bias tape maker works, it gives you double fold, which is where you take your bias and it's folded in like this once and then twice again. But that's mostly for garments. So you can use it with quilting too. Come on, we're almost done here. It's like magic. And you're going to end up with more bias than you need, and that's okay. But look, ta-da! So amazing. Anyways, I am very quickly going to clear off my table section here. Oh, you don't need to see my face that close. And we are going to put now we're going to attach the bias onto. This is all, I have so much stuff. All of this stuff gets moved every time. My little thing of T-pins and my cutter thing. And my pin cushion with all my pins. You can see all my stuff. And I'm just going to move this over here. Ta-da! And we're just going to drop you down ever so slightly. All right. So, oh, and I found that the pokey thing, the purple thing, was very useful. So after you've made your bias tape and you have ironed it in half, what you're going to do is we're going to attach it. I'm going to keep this here like this, and it's going to be easier for me to sew. We're going to attach it to the pocket, the body side, not the pocket side, the body side of the bag. You want to leave yourself a tail because you need to be able to join your binding, and I will show everybody how to do that. And I'm going to suggest you want to start close to one of the curves because it's going to make joining significantly easier. You can pin this all into place first. I never like doing that. I find, oh, I just kicked the camera, sorry. It doesn't allow me to maneuver. And again, we are sewing at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. And yes, it is going to get bumpy when we go around the zipper. It's the reality of this piece. See this, so, and needle down means that your project isn't going to shift all over the place. And there goes the sump pump again. So on that other side, I did not aggressively trim my bias tape. I also didn't iron it at all. And I think that that will help with, like, I didn't iron it to roll it over. And I think that that will help. Make sure that, you got to make sure that your zipper stop, the zipper end isn't close here, or you will not get past anything. And you can see maybe on this, maybe you can't, maybe you can. On this bias tape, I very much did not cut off the selvage, so I've got the selvage in here as well. That's okay. And what's our timing at now? We're at 25 minutes. We're not so bad. I also had, so this is the sample that was sitting in the store. I had issues with this because the body of this bag ended up significantly smaller, like over 2 inches smaller than what it was supposed to be, and I had to trim the M panels, and they were still not small enough to go on, and I ended up having to gather within the seam allowance. So I think part of why this bag is not sitting as nicely as it should is that things did not line up the way that they should. And I think the reason that that happened is that I over quilted the bag. I wanted to add, so quilting adds stability to any project and makes it stiffer. And I wanted to add more stability to this one, and it just shrunk it, because quilting also, like when you quilt it, it shrinks everything in, so it just shrunk it too much. which is okay. And I bet you, unless you've been listening to me talk about how I haven't finished this, you never knew that this was not finished. Because it was on the inside and nobody was looking. But I want to be able to bring this back to the store and put it on display and everybody can see how ugly the inside is. No. What the finished project looks like so that they can come back to this YouTube video and learn all of these amazing things with me. That is my goal. So I'm going to get around this curve. This is the final curve. So I have left a large section of this, as you can see, unsewn. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this like here. So from that quarter, I now have a big extra chunk of bias tape, which is cool, and I can use it for scrappy binding at some point in the future. This over here ever so slightly. There we go. Okay. There is a mathematical formula for doing this, and I don't know what it is. This is the method that, Kate Grand Maison taught me how to quilt. This is the method that Kate taught me, and it has worked for me every time, so I continue to do it. It's a little finicky, and I think there's no way around this being finicky to be able to join these. So this is how this works. You have your two ends that are not sewn down. I move them with my thumbs until they meet. And I know, okay, that is the point where they need to join. You need to open up your binding. I like to put a clip into place here because I know that that's the point where they need to stay attached. And then what you do is you flip this one up and you flip this one across. So just like when you join bias binding normally, not the method I just showed you. When you join bias binding, how you join it is you take open this up. This is not working. My fingers are tired. I typed a lot today and my fingers are tired and I don't know why. Okay, so when you normally join bias binding, you take one piece like this and you take the other piece and you lay it perpendicular, and then you sew a diagonal line so that when you fold it on that line, it becomes continuous. So you're basically doing the same thing, but at this point, your bias binding is attached to your project. So I open this up and I open this up, and I have to sew my line like so. And this, like I said, is the part where it gets finicky. I do not backstitch because I find that sometimes I am off and I need to re-sew it. So I'm going to sew my line. And this is why you need to leave yourself a lot of space, because you have to like you can see this is not wanting to lie flat at all. My foot just popped off. And hey, people out there in cyberspace, if anybody is like, why are you struggling like this? I have such an easier method of doing this. Please tell me. Please, please, please. Okay. It does not want to lie flat. I'm going to force it. I'm like the stepsister in Cinderella. I'm gonna make it fit. And my thread has come out. I need this to be not happening. Here we go. Okay. And is my line 100% accurate diagonally? Probably not. Is that a big problem? Probably not. Back over here. Okay, so you can see now I've got these extra tail bits, but I like to fold this up into the position it's supposed to be in and make sure, and you can see this is a little bit loose. I've got too much and I actually have to take this out and unfold it. I'm not going to do that. We will do it. I will leave myself to do it on my own. I will just show you. So what you're going to do afterwards is take the bias binding and then roll it. Now this has got it like, I think it's got to go, you want it to meet the seam allowance. So you need to fold it under and then under again. And that's how we're going to attach it. So I'm going to leave this project sort of half done. I am very much at the end of my working day. I know everybody knows when you get to that point of brain tiredness, it is not time to pick up a sewing project. But I am there and I'm going to come back to this, but I hope I have adequately demonstrated the techniques that you need to be able to finish this project. It has been a blast. I can't wait to see everybody's finished duffel bags. And yes, I hope everybody stays safe tonight, has power, is warm, and we will see you at the next sew along. Bye, everybody.